Okay, we're live. Start. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 48 of Security in 30 on the In 30 Network. Today, Tom's packing to go to a security conference. And I know we talked about the big security conferences, but what's this one, and why should, I guess, we care? Why is it good? I don't know.
I am indeed packing. I'm packing to go to Lexington, Kentucky to go to DerbyCon. And it should be quite the wild ride. DerbyCon's been around for a number of years. It's not among the oldest of the security conferences, but it does have a really great kind of vibe and a backing to it. Lots of big names will be there, lots of topics to be discussed, and all around it should be a good time.
I mean, I guess it's just a smaller conference.
Yeah, it's smaller. It's definitely more local to kind of the Ohio, Kentucky, and surrounding area. It's not anywhere near as big as BlackHat or DefCon or any of the other giant conferences like that. But it makes for kind of a more close-knit, tight feel to it. Instead of seeing thousands upon thousands of people, 10,000 people at DefCon. Instead, you'll get a smaller group, and you can talk to people and actually have interesting conversations instead of saying hi 10,000 times. So it should be good.
I mean, do we know what's going to happen, or do they talk about? Are we going to get something famous next week?
Well, I'm not sure if we'll get anything that's going to be, making national headlines. There will be some security news. There will be some new stuff shown, and I'm really looking forward to it. Some big names that you might recognize from some of the speakers. We have got Kevin Mitnick, the Kevin Mitnick, coming on stage. So I'm really, really looking forward to that talk. And of course, everyone's favorite resident hacker, Dave Kennedy. Really professional guy, really top-notch, and honestly, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's a real class act. So him and Kevin Mitnick are going to be talking about kind of ethical hacking. Their talk is on what they call adaptive pen testing, which a pen test is when a company hires a group of hackers that work for a security company, most likely, to come in and attack them. And they give rules and stuff, and instead of just, a hacker coming in and attacking and saying, yeah, you got owned, no, these guys are, taking notes, they're writing down things, they're making recommendations, and at the end of their assignment, they go to the big wigs, they go to the guys that hired them, and they say, okay, here's your security problems in this list, here's your report, and here's how to fix them. Here's what you should be doing instead, or here's what you should be tightening up around your business. And it's really, probably, I think the best way to test your security is by having someone try to attack it and break it. Because you can think, oh, look, we're secure because we bought all of these great firewalls that were $1 million a piece. Yeah, that doesn't really matter if your password is monkey. So having actual trained professional ethical hackers attack you and then give you the report on what you need to fix is really the best way to figure out how secure you really are.
I mean, that must be really scary. I can see that. I want you to come to our company and do whatever, literally whatever it takes to get this database with all our secrets.
Yeah, and depending on the pen test, it might not be that way. So certain pen tests will have rules or certain objectives to go after. A common rule is, hey, don't break anything and don't cause any downtime. And that can limit you as a hacker. That can limit you as someone trying to break in. If you can't really hammer on a system and take it down, you've got to kind of step lightly and be careful, or otherwise, you might lose that contract. You might lose that sale. Others say, they might make a push towards one area of security. Some guys might say, hey, we want you to phish our users in email and on the phone. and that should be your main target. You should really target the human aspect of a company's security instead of just the technical aspect. Sometimes a company says, hey, no rules. No rules whatsoever. You can do anything you want because we want this to be as realistic as possible. If you're going to crawl through, like, ceiling ductwork, Mythbuster style, and jump into the server room like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible and, like, use some crazy rope wire stuff and steal a server, that's totally on you, and we want to find out about it. And those kind of pen tests really give way to some of the best stories out there. And a lot of these conferences are filled with that kind of banter, that kind of stuff, where people will talk about what they've learned on assignments and kind of what the industry is trending towards in terms of security, or more importantly, trending towards in terms of weakness. Because it gives us all an opportunity to learn, to listen, and to go back to our places of employment and make them better.
And the problem is that you have to take these little bits of knowledge on how they crawl through the ductwork to tell the little old lady in HR that that this is a real thing and it could happen. And that's always the best thing to say. Well, I have a screensaver lock on my screensaver, but it's A because I don't like typing it in a bunch of times. No, but I mean, it's one of those things that. No, I feel like no matter it doesn't matter what you do in this large organization, the weakest link is always going to be somebody like we keep on talking about that has password as their password, or will open a phishing email or anything like that. And if you do anything to stop it, they're going to complain that they're not getting emails of e-cards from their grandchildren at their work email.
Exactly. It's always kind of a battle. And one of the things, and I mentioned his name, one of the things Dave Kennedy is known for and really famous for, is famous for a lot of things. But one of the main things he talks about and he's really good at is developing a security program for a company's users, for the general user community, that actually makes people care about securing not only the work computers, because it's your work computer, who cares, but actually making themselves safer at home, making them care about computer security in general. And at a conference for the Ohio InfoSec Group, which I'm a board member, full disclosure, at our conference he gave a talk, and it was really fantastic about how he took a user community at this giant company and made them really care about security. It was really interesting. If you can, go to YouTube, look him up, look up some of the stuff he's done. He's a great speaker and really entertaining and a great guy to listen to.
Well, I mean, when you have such a gathering of security people, and we know at DefCon we always make it a joke, don't go on Wi-Fi, don't do this. Is this do we have to worry about this here at DerbyCon?
I don't think so. Now, I will be using I will be avoiding public Wi-Fi for the duration of the conference because this is a group of hackers, and I know me, it's probably going to be hard for me to resist sniffing the public Wi-Fi. But I'm going to probably stick to the cell signal, stick to a VPN, and avoid anything truly sensitive data-wise on my computer or my phone. Now, I do have a very fresh operating install, a very fresh Linux install that's fairly locked down. So I don't have too many fears, but people say that kind of stuff about DEF CON, and honestly, it's not really malicious intent is not their main goal. Is not these hackers and pen testers and security professionals' main goal. Usually at these hacker conferences, if somebody's hacking you, if somebody's like jacking your traffic and replacing every single picture on the internet with a picture of a cat or the picture of you making a dumb face from your webcam, it's all good-natured fun. It's just people trying to mess with you, and it's really hilarious and it's pretty awesome. I'm gonna try to avoid getting my stuff hacked up, but it's all part of the game. It's all just fun.
I mean, I guess that's the allure of DEF CON, is to go to DEF CON without getting hacked. Or I don't know if you want to go. I don't know if that's a badge of honor that you didn't get hacked versus you are. But I mean, I'm looking at this, and you're right. It doesn't look that big. It looks fair. It's fairly decent. I don't know too many of the people here other than Mitnick and Kennedy there, but it
Mhm.
looks like you can learn a lot, and it looks like I feel like you can start from the beginning. Like if you don't know too much, it seems like some of these talks are you can consider them beginners, but
Mhm. Yeah, there's some stuff that's like really crazy technical in here, but there's some stuff that's really easy, like ethical controls, ethics and privacy in a target-rich environment by Kevin Johnson and James Jardine, and that talk looks like it wouldn't be. You don't have to be a crazy computer scientist who's typing in machine code at the speed of light sort of thing. Like you can go there as a business guy who's got a vested interest and actually learn something from the talk, and that's not a bad thing at all. That's actually a very good thing. And then there's a bunch of stuff that's specifically for programmers, specifically for network engineers. In conferences like this, you'll get a lot of talks on just about every topic for every skill level. So if there's something that, like, for DefCon, for instance, or BlackHat, or DerbyCon, look them up on YouTube. If there's a talk that sounds interesting to you, give it a listen. Like, jump to the middle of the video, see if you're totally lost. If they're getting into something crazy technical and you don't want to deal with that because it goes over your head, because I've done that before. I mean, stuff still goes over my head today. Find a different video. There's lots of different skill ranges, and if you want to, especially local conferences, if you want to learn just a little bit more, just jump in and attend. A lot of the local conferences are fairly cheap, and you can really get a decent understanding of, the security culture. You can get a decent understanding of some of the best practices, and you can see some really cool technical stuff. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that's going to happen this next week. It's going to be nice.
and hopefully I mean, obviously you're going to report back next week, and hopefully we get some pretty cool things that we can like talk about, I guess.
Oh,
But
yes.
I mean, we were saying before the show, it's one thing to get into a big conference like DEF CON or RSA or whatever, where you're talking to thousands of people, but here you're starting to talk about how it's so small that there's actually a time, I guess, you can eat lunch with a whole bunch of different people, and you can really get drilled down into stuff like problems at work and how to fix them. I don't know if you do that, but
Yeah, I mean, at this conference, I'm not sure exactly, how massive it's going to be. It's pretty big. I mean, it's not national big, but it's locally big. Um, but I know for Ohio InfoSec Forum's conference that I spoke at, it was a relatively small group. It was under 100 people, and frankly, I like that better because I had people come up to me after I gave my talk, and they said, "Hey, I really like the talk. Here's some things I disagreed with. What do you think about this?" And I actually got to have a conversation about, an area of expertise that I was interested in, that I was invested in with this person, instead of, being bombarded by people or being in a room of people so large that it felt like, look, I'm just another fish in the sea. It actually, and I hate to use the word because I think it's kind of devoid of meaning, but it was a more intimate environment. People got to actually come up and talk to me about things, and I got to shake a lot of hands and meet a lot of cool people. And it wasn't, I wasn't overwhelmed with new faces.
and, and we said before, you're right. I don't think you have to worry about your Wi-Fi necessarily being sniffed. Everything is not. I don't want to say not super secure, but you can. It sounds like you can relax a little bit.
Yeah, at the local conferences, you can definitely relax a little bit. Now, if you go to DEF CON, if you go to BlackHat, be a little bit on the more careful side. It's not like if you walk into Las Vegas during DEF CON, you're going to get hacked. That's not a guarantee.
Well, my friend did ask that. One of the listeners to the show actually was in Las Vegas during DEF CON. It's at this, I guess, the same hotel or nearby, and he said, "Do I have to worry?" And I said, "Well, if you're within Wi-Fi, I go data. Put the data on and try not to log into things. But I wouldn't necessarily worry there. Is there a Spot the Fed T-shirt challenge at this one?
I don't think so, but that would be awesome if there was. I don't think DerbyCon is big enough to have Fed recruiters at it. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. This is my first DerbyCon, so I'm going to be learning a lot about it. I've just read stuff on previous conferences that these guys have put on. But, full disclosure, I know the guys who put this on. They're great guys, and, we're going to get a lot of good content out of it for you guys.
Well, I mean, what we're talking about, the Spot the Fed challenge, and I don't know if people know, is that at these very large hacker conferences, the three-letter organizations show up not to monitor what's going on, isn't to arrest people. I mean, they're not looking for Charlie Miller or Kevin Mitnick or anybody else. They're looking for the best of the best and hire them, because if they're doing bad things, and a lot of companies do this, if you're doing bad things against the company, you might as well hire you to either to stop or to pen test their own company and go from there. I think Charlie Miller was famous. He got hired by Apple, one, to stop him from jailbreaking the phones, and two, to stop others from jailbreaking the phones.
Yeah, it was the Spot the Fed challenge is pretty fantastic. So you have these recruitment agencies, and of course, most of the guys, there are some, but most of the guys don't walk around wearing their big black jackets that have the letters FBI on the back. Instead, they're totally plain clothes. They walk around, they act like conference attendees. Some of them might look like skater punks or, kind of disheveled hacker types. Look like walking stereotypes. And sometime at the conference, somebody will come up on stage and say, "It's that time of year. It's time to play Spot the Fed," and he'll, go, you sir, come on up to the front. And of course, the guy's just like, he's undercover, right? He's a plainclothes Fed. He's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they show his badge and his picture ID up on the projector, and he walks away like this. Yeah, okay, you got me. I'm a Fed. It's a lot of fun between the three-letter agencies and the group of hackers that run DefCon. It's just kind of a fun, poking fun at each other sort of thing.
Well, I mean, I guess the funnier part is, I wonder if when you win the contest, you get a job.
You should. You really should.
I mean,
lots of the three-letter agencies have picked up a lot of people at these hacker conventions. It's one of their main recruiting grounds, is find someone who gives a great presentation on some technology that they want, and make that person an offer that they probably shouldn't financially refuse.
I'm looking here and I don't see it. What is it? Social engineering. I'm sure there has to be something on social engineering.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. There's nothing that sticks out right now as purely social engineering. It's definitely more on the technical side instead of the human side.
Which, I mean, on both sides you have to be careful, because it sounds like all we talk about is social engineering for the most part, and what ends up happening is that you need the social engineering part, but the back end has to be strong as well.
Right.
And I see a lot of back end stuff.
Yeah, and we'll see. Let me see. Aha! Here we go. Looks like social engineering savants, the psychopathic profile. Huh. That'll be interesting. I'm gonna go see that guy. So yeah, it looks like there's a couple, not as many as there are kind of bigger networking topics or programming topics.
I want to know what Kevin Mitnick does now that there's fraking is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he does his own pen testing. He has his own company, and
he writes books. He's a published author several times over.
I'll let this go now. I already own his book, but if he's there signing books, send me a message, and I'll probably tell you, buy me a book with his signature on it.
I will be sure to grab one. Kevin Mitnick actually travels around a lot to speak at conferences like this. That, I mean, in addition to doing pen tests and to running his own company, he makes money on the side by going to conferences and speaking about what he knows about security. And frankly, it's a great job, and he should get paid to speak because he is one of the foremost experts on social engineering, on getting away from the feds, on pen testing. Is he the most talented guy I've ever seen? Not necessarily. Is he a big name and famous for a legitimate reason? Absolutely. I mean, this guy's a legend. So yeah, it's. I'm looking forward to his talk.
And I've known people that have heard him speak, and they've said, I mean, you come away a different person after you hear what he knows, and you're just in awe of basically how good he is at social engineering.
Yeah. It's it's less of a game and more of a lifestyle to Mr. Kevin Mitnick.
So anyway, I don't know. I feel like we're beating around a bush here. I don't have anything else unless you do. I say we end early and just reconvene.
I've got one small thing. It sounds, to the average person, hearing about something like DefCon or BlackHat in Las Vegas, where you get a group of really crazy hackers together in one spot, in a bunch of hotels or in one city together to wreak havoc. Sounds like the most horrible thing we could ever possibly do. But the reality is, not all hackers are BlackHat hackers. A lot of these guys work in security. A lot of these guys work for themselves and then report bugs or vulnerabilities and get paid for it, or otherwise. But having these conferences, having these talks, discussing problems, and figuring out how to break things, how to hack into stuff, how to bypass Apple's or PayPal's two-factor authentication, it's that kind of research and that kind of hacking that makes us safer in the long run. Because in the long run, we all know these problems. We figure things out. We learn about it. And then we work with the companies, the vendors, the developers, or ourselves to fix the problems and make things better. The world is more secure because of these hacker conferences.
And the people, and the Black Hat people, the people who are doing the nefarious things, I don't think go to these conferences. I don't think so.
I wouldn't say in giant numbers. I think it's mostly, just corporate guys or people that work for security firms. I'd like to get, real numbers on that, but I don't know if, when you walk in the door at DefCon, if they say, hey, we've got these 3 hats, are you? Which one are you? White, gray, or black? So it'd be a little hard to figure out exactly, which nefarious person is going to DefCon. But I'm sure there have been people nefarious going to DefCon. That said, after DefCon, the information's public, right?
I just feel like, okay, you have most people, like you said, are going. Their company's purchasing them a ticket, or they're buying their own ticket. They're going there to learn something. They're not going there to learn how to be bad. They're just learning something. And I feel like the people who are doing bad things are trying to make money at it. So this is stopping them from making money. But
yeah. In the end, when something like this happens, it gets fixed because it's a pretty high-profile. Speaking at a conference is not a low-profile way to disclose your bug or your hack.
Exactly. So again, I have nothing else.
I'm good.
Okay. So then we'll end early. Give you some time for everything, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.